Number 1. Funeral Salt. Here in Japan, it is very important to pay respect to both the spirits of the dead and the spirits that are associated with death. My great-aunt passed away at the age of 93. I was young and had never been to a funeral before. However, my aunt and I were very good friends, and I felt that I should go to the funeral. Upon the ending of the service, I was given a packet of salt and told to cast it from the front door of my apartment. This, supposedly, would keep the spirits from following me home. Not the spirit of my deceased aunt, mind you, but the spirits related to death. I respected and loved my aunt, but I have never believed in spirits. So I put the packet of salt in my purse and promptly forgot about it. I suppose I could have done it just to humor people, but I really didn't see the point. About a week after my great-aunt's funeral, things were pretty normal. Although I did miss her, she had had a good and long life, and I really wasn't sad or anything. On this night, I had gotten home from work a few hours earlier, and was trying to relax. I turned out the lights and turned on the television. About a half hour into my show, I heard a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anybody to come over, but I went and checked to see who was at the door. It was a young girl, maybe about 9 years old. She was wearing a hooded sweatshirt, and she kept looking down at the floor. I asked if I could help her, and she told me she was looking for the elevator. I found that odd, because we were already on the 3rd floor of the apartment building. She couldn't have gotten to my apartment without taking the elevator. I pointed towards the elevator, but she made no effort to go towards it. She asked me to show her. I took her by the hand and led her to the elevator. I asked her what floor her parents lived on, and if she wanted me to accompany her to her apartment. However, she just pressed the 5 button, and the door closed in my face. I really thought this situation was weird, but I really didn't think too much about it. There were kids in the building, and it wasn't unusual to see them acting, well, unusual, I guess. I put it out of my head. That night, while I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I left my bathroom door ajar. I was watching myself brush in the mirror. While I was brushing, in the reflection of the mirror, I saw the door behind me begin to move open. Startled, I turned around and saw nothing there. I opened the door, looked in the hallway, and there was nothing there. I truly thought the encounter with the strange little girl must have made me a little paranoid. Plus, I was very, very tired, so I went to bed. I always sleep with my bedroom door closed. I'm not sure how long I was lying in bed, but I know that I hadn't fallen asleep yet. I heard a very distinct sound and opened my eyes. My eyes then grew wider when I saw light coming through from under my bedroom door. Someone turned my hallway light on. Someone was in my apartment. Before I could figure out what to do, I heard the doorknob unlatch. Slowly, the door began to open. The sliver of light came from behind the door, and fear gripped me. I didn't have my phone near me to call the police. It wasn't like they would be able to get there before the door was completely open anyway. I grabbed my alarm clock off the table, seeing as it was the only thing I had to use as any sort of weapon. The door slowly creaked open, and there, standing in the doorway, was a little girl. All the light was coming from behind her, so she seemed like a shadow. I was a little less scared of getting hurt, but still very creeped out. I asked her how she got into my apartment, and if she needed me to take her back to her apartment. I'll never forget her response. "Aunt Yoko is waiting for you." Scared, I ran over to the light switch and turned it on. When I did, the little girl was gone. I searched my entire apartment and found no trace of her. I was unsettled, though. I think that little girl was a death spirit, something I never believed existed. I ran and got the salt packet out of my purse. I went out the front door of my apartment. I opened the salt and threw it into the air. I went back into the house and stayed awake, waiting for something to happen again. Nothing did. Nothing ever did since. Number 2. My childhood friend. I know that my story probably seems quite unbelievable. I think people will think that I'm either making it up, or they will tell me that this is the Mandela effect, or something like that. Personally, I don't know. But I do know I have very vivid memories of it. When I was 11 years old, I lived in a very poor area of Tokyo. I was skinny and wore glasses, very nerdy, and did not have many friends. When summer break came about, I spent most of my outside time just walking around by myself. One day, I wandered pretty far from the apartment building that my family lived in. I was walking by a house when a big red ball came bouncing over the fence in the yard. I grabbed it and returned it to a boy who was standing at the gate. His name was Hideki, and he actually asked me to play ball with him. I accepted, and we became really good friends. During that summer break, which is much shorter in Japan than it is in America, Hideki and I played a lot. But he never would leave his front yard. He never asked me to come in his house either, and I never saw his parents. Summer break went by so quickly that year. I was not looking forward to going back to school. I went to his house the day before school began. Normally, he would have been out in his front yard playing, but he wasn't. I didn't want to lose our last day of playing before school began. I went up and knocked on the door, but didn't get any response. I knocked again. Nothing. I went around to the side of the house, looking to see if there was another doorway. There was a sliding glass door. I had never seen the inside of his house before, and was shocked at what I saw. The house was empty. There was no furniture in there. There were no people. There was nothing. I tried pulling the door open, and was surprised that it was unlocked. Walking into the house, I called for my friend, but received no answer. I walked around the house, and I heard a door slam on the second floor of the house. Going up the stairs, I kept calling for my friend. I figured maybe his family was too poor for furniture, although that seemed silly to even think. I checked the upstairs doors. They all led to empty rooms. All except one. There was one door that would not open. I knocked on it and called for Hideki, hoping that he would emerge and come play with me. I heard sounds on the other side of the door, as if someone was in there, but no one answered me. Eventually, and quite heartbroken that I wasn't going to get to play with my only friend, I left the house, closing the glass door behind me. Upon exiting the house, I heard a woman yelling something at me. I looked, and there was a lady standing on the other side of the fence. She was telling me to have respect and not trespass. I didn't know what she meant. I asked her if she knew what happened to Hideki. She suddenly softened up a bit, and asked me if I had been a friend of his. I told her yes. She apologized for yelling at me, and told me I must not have heard, but Hideki had been dead for a year. He had a heart condition, and after multiple surgeries, his heart finally gave up a year ago. His parents could no longer bear to live in the house, so they had moved away. I remember wanting to tell the woman that Hideki was alive. I had played with him nearly every day of the entire summer break, but I didn't tell her that. I apologized for trespassing and left. I went back to the house a lot at first. Hideki was never there. Over time, I went less and less. Eventually, I stopped going. I never saw Hideki again. I'm not sure what happened here. I don't know if I was playing with a ghost or not. It is possible that the boy I was playing with wasn't Hideki at all. I never saw him enter the house. It may have been a friend of his that was distraught that his best friend had died and was playing in his yard every day. But if so, why did he tell me his name was Hideki? Regardless of what happened, though, I always have fond memories of playing with my friend that summer break when I was 11. Number 3. My stay at the hotel. This isn't a very long story, but I hope you'll consider reading it. 5 years ago, I was taking a trip for school, visiting the countryside. It was a week-long sightseeing trip. On the third day of the trip, we were going through the mountains and stopped at our hotel. It was a beautiful and older building, nestled against the side of a hill. 6 of us students slept in a room on futons. My friend Tetsuya was in that room with me. I am the type of person that can sleep really easily wherever I am. So, I fell asleep right away. I was woken up in the middle of the night, and it took me a moment to realize why. Tetsuya was shaking my shoulder. I asked him what he wanted, and he whispered that he saw someone sitting in the far corner of the room. Tetsuya was the type of guy who tried to scare other people, so I brushed him off. Rolling back on my side, I fell back to sleep. I'm not sure how much later it was, but I eventually woke up again. I thought perhaps Tetsuya had woken me up again. However, looking at the futon next to me, I saw that it was empty. I looked around the room. The other 4 students were asleep in their beds, but my friend Tetsuya was nowhere to be seen. It was then that something caught my eye in the corner of the room. There was a figure sitting there in the shadows. It looked like it was leaning up against the wall. I immediately assumed it was Tetsuya, and told him to quit trying to scare me. The figure at first didn't respond. I told him I was not going to be scared, and that I was going to lay down and go back to sleep. "It hurts," I heard the figure groan in an inhuman voice. I looked over at it and told Tetsuya to quit it. I wasn't falling for his trick. "It hurts," the figure repeated. It then started tapping its head against the wall. At first, they were light taps, but as the taps increased, they also got harder. After a while, it was banging its head against the wall really hard, repeating, "It hurts," over and over again. I began to get scared and annoyed, telling Tetsuya to quit it. When the figure was banging its head at a really fast speed, suddenly, I heard the door to the room open behind me. Light came in the room and I turned. Tetsuya walked in the room. He had been to the bathroom. Scared, I turned back to the corner, and the figure was gone. Tetsuya saw the look on my face, and he knew that I had seen it too. I didn't sleep any more that night, and I never found out who that figure was that night. Hey all, Killer Orange Cat here. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I really enjoyed translating these stories from Japanese to English for you, so I hope that came across. I'm going to continue running my friend's GoFundMe campaign, which is about $220 away from reaching the goal, but I'm not going to mention it in my closing segments anymore after this one. The link will remain in the description though. It has been a great success, and I am very grateful. Once again, I want to thank everybody who's donated or shared the link on social media. It has helped quite a bit. So, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please consider hitting the subscribe button below, or use the icon of Ichigo that will appear at the end of this closing. Leave a comment to let me know what you thought of the video, and consider sharing it with someone you think might enjoy it. Feel free to follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter. If you have a story you'd like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please email it to the address included in the description. However, it must be original, and must not have been narrated by any other horror narrator on YouTube. In the meantime, please don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.